Hey guys, it's Thomas here with Technovision, and welcome to the next part of our modding tutorial series. In this episode, we'll be creating a custom basic block, and it's not going to do anything special yet. That'll be in a later video, but it's just going to be a basic block that you can place down and you can break. So first thing you're going to want to do when you're in your IntelliJ program is come to the registry handler class here, and that's in the util package. And you can see here that we registered our items here. And for the sake of learning purposes, I'm going to actually register all of the objects we make in this class. But I just want to mention that you're welcome to register these different objects, like items and blocks in separate classes. So if you'd like to have an items class and a blocks class, you can totally do that. I just want to put it all in one place so you can see sort of what it looks like side by side. All right, so once you're inside of the registry handler class, first thing we want to do is create a new deferred register for our blocks. So right below this items deferred register we made, just make a little space, and we're going to type public static final deferred register, and this is going to take in the parameter of block because we are holding blocks in this deferred register, and the name is going to be blocks in all capitals, and this is going to equal a new deferred register, of course. And the arguments that we're going to pass in is pretty much the same except for blocks. So forge registries dot blocks, comma, and then of course you want our mod ID. So, and I believe it's, we have it registered statically. So tutorial dot mod underscore ID. And again, replace tutorial with the name of your mod, of course, and a semicolon at the end, of course. And we also have to import block. It's very important, and import it from net.minecraft.block. All right, so now that we have this deferred register, the next thing we actually want to do is make sure that it's registered. So if we go to this init method we have here, it closed up on me. Make a few spaces, or I guess just one, and below this items.register we have here, we're going to do the same thing but with blocks. So blocks.register, and the arguments again are going to be pretty much exactly the same. In fact, they are the same, so we can just copy this whole line up here, right click, copy, right click, paste, and semicolon at the end here. And I forgot to add the S. There we go, blocks, because we need this to be the same name as this, of course. So that's gonna make sure that it actually gets registered in our actual mod when time comes for that. And now we actually can make the actual block itself. Okay, so you can see here on the left-hand side that we have an items package, and we're gonna make another one for blocks. So let's just close this up real quick. And in our com.yourname.the name of your mod package right here, we're gonna right click, new, and we're going to create a blocks package. So package, and we're just going to name it blocks and hit enter. And inside of this package, of course, is going to be all of the different classes that we use to hold our blocks, and also a block item base, which again, you don't have to use, but in my case, I'm going to use. So now we can actually make the items. So right below our items tag we have right here, or I guess our note, we can make a few spaces, and I'm going to add another note, // and this is going to be blocks. And then I'm going to add another note below it, maybe 2 spaces this time, // block items. So you might be a little confused here. Basically in Minecraft, in Forge, in particular, there's actually 2 types of an item, or a block rather. So there's the actual block that you place on the ground and that you mine, of course. And then there's the block item, which is what is held in your hand. And they're actually 2 separate things, and you have to register them separately as well, which is kind of confusing for people who are new to Forge and modding, but I promise you it's not that bad. So first we want to make the actual block. So let's type public static final, and this is going to be just like with the items, a registry object. So registry object, except this time it's going to take in a block, and the name of this is going to be the name of your item, more or less your block underscore block. So if you're making something like let's say crying obsidian, that's what you're making for your block. It's going to be crying underscore obsidian underscore block, just like that. So you want the name and then an underscore block. In my case, I'm going to make a Ruby block because we just made a Ruby item. So Ruby underscore block. And again, use those underscores for spaces, but the name does not really matter here. It's just sort of for the code. So this is going to equal blocks in all capitals, my bad. Blocks, cannot spell today. Blocks.register. There we go, .register. And inside of here, again, very similar to how we did this up above, we're going to do the name of our actual block. So in my case, Ruby underscore block, and a comma. And we're going to use a lambda here to create our or instance our class. So Ruby block is going to be the name of mine, colon new. And this class right here has not been made. We're going to make it in a second, but just name this class, again, the same name that you have here, but instead of semicolons, just use camel case. So again, if your block was crying obsidian, it would be crying, oh, not capital, crying obsidian block. Just like that. And that should be how you name your class. This is actually kind of important. So again, mine is going to be Ruby block. And we're going to make this class in a second. So go over to your blocks package here. This is where that Ruby block is actually going to be. So we're going to right click, new Java class, and we're going to name this Ruby block. Again, the same thing we named it right here in the Lambda. We're going to hit enter. And I'm going to add this to my Git repository, but don't worry about that. You're not using that right now. So this class, this Ruby block class, is going to, let's take a look at our items real quick. Item base. So you can see item base extends item, and that means it's inheriting everything from the item class. Well, in our block base here, or I guess this isn't a block base, but it's a specialized class for this particular block. It's going to extend block. So extends block. And we're probably going to have to import block, import class from net.minecraft.block, and hover over it again, and you want to click on create constructor matching super. And we'll deal with this in a second, but just move it down a little bit. So Ruby block is extending block. It's inheriting everything from the block class. And that's what we're going to do with super here in a second. So what we want to do is set its properties to whatever we want this block to be. So let's get rid of properties here because we're going to make our own. And inside of here, we're going to type block, instead of super, I should specify, block dot properties with a capital P dot create. And then in the create method, we're going to pass in a material. And this material is going to be the material of your block. So material dot, and you can see there's a bunch of different options here. These are all different material types for blocks. And let's see, what should we choose? Well, a Ruby block is going to be similar to like an iron block, right? So I guess it doesn't really matter. We can always come back to it, but I'm going to make mine material.iron. Where is it? Material.iron. There we go. We can double click that. And you can see here it is material.iron in all capitals. And we can actually move this little, what is this? A parenthesis, this parenthesis and the semicolon down a bit. And we're going to add some more properties here. So you can indent with a tab here a couple times. And I'm going to add dot hardness and resistance. And this is going to actually set the hardness value and the resistance value. And these are all over the place in Minecraft, but you can find them by just going on the Minecraft wiki. In my case, I'm going to make my hardness 5.0f, comma, and then I'm going to make my resistance 6.0f. With this, I'm not going to add a semicolon because we're not done yet. So again, IntelliJ is really nice. It's going to tell you what is what. The hardness value here is how long I believe it takes to mine your block, and the resistance value is how long it takes, or not how long it takes, how easy it is to be blown up by TNT. So you know how wool is like, super easy to blow up with TNT, but obsidian never gets blown up. That is what this resistance value will be. And the higher the hardness value is before the F, the harder it is to break. And we can add another dot here, and you can keep adding dots here, and you can see there's a bunch of different options. You can play around with all of these, but I'm just going to show you a couple just so you sort of have some examples under your belt. So I'm going to do dot sound, and inside of here, this dot sound method, we're going to pass in a sound, and this is, just like it sounds, going to be the sound of the, oh, that was a fun pun, just like it sounds. So just like it sounds, it's going to be the sound type of the block. So sound type dot, and you can see there's a bunch here. Since I did iron, I'm going to do dot metal. There we go. And again, all this is doing is setting the sound type to metal by, and that's basically making the sound metal when you walk on it and when you mine it, I believe, as well. All right, so the next property we need to set is the harvest level, and we can come down here and type dot harvest level And we're going to pass into here a number between 0 and 3. And the number 0 is going to correspond to wood, 1 is going to correspond to stone and gold, 2 is going to correspond to iron, and 3 is going to correspond to diamond. And essentially what these numbers mean and what harvest level means is the tier of tool that you need to actually harvest this block. So what does that mean? Well, in Minecraft, you know, the obsidian block, for example, you need a diamond pickaxe to harvest an obsidian block. Otherwise, it'll just disappear as soon as you mine it. Same thing with the redstone or diamond blocks, for example, those ore blocks. You can't harvest them unless you have an iron pickaxe. So what this harvest level is saying is the number that you pass into it is the minimum required tool tier that you need to harvest the block. So I guess a way to say this is, let's say you pass in 1. What that's saying is you need to harvest this block with at least a gold or stone pickaxe, otherwise it will not harvest. If I were to put the max number of 3, that would require a diamond pickaxe to mine the block. And if I wanted to put 0 in there, that would mean that I could use any of the tool types. I could use wood, stone, gold, iron, diamond, and it would all work. So the higher the number is, all the way up to 3, the higher the tier you require to harvest this block. So because this is similar to an emerald block, I want you to be required to use an iron pickaxe to actually mine it and harvest it. So I'm gonna type 2 because that corresponds to an iron pickaxe. And after that, we can now set our tool type. So dot tool, or I guess it's harvest tool. And inside of here, we're gonna pass in a tool type. So tool type dots, and you can see here we have axe, pickaxe, and shovel. So you know, pretty self-explanatory. This is the tool that you require to actually mine this block. You know, axes correspond to wood blocks, pickaxes to stone, and shovels to dirt and those sort of things. So in this case, it's a metal type block, it's a ruby block, so we're gonna wanna use a pickaxe. But if you were making, for example, a wood block, a new wood type, you would do .axe, and you would set that in. Or, you know, if it was dirt, you could do .shovel. But in my case, I want people to have to use a pickaxe, and that's pretty much it. We can bring this up, this parenthesis and semicolon up a little bit, file, save all, and that's pretty much it for our Ruby block. Okay, so now you can actually go back to your registry handler class because we're done here, and we can import our Ruby block. So you can hover over it and import class, and that will import the actual Ruby block itself. And again, this is gonna be different for every single block that you make, this specific area. It's not like item based where we just copy it over. This has to be specific to every block you make because the actual blocks all have different values, or at least they probably will. So that's why you have to make a new class every time. Just wanted to throw that out there. So now we have to actually make the block item, which is what is held in your hand. So right in our block items here, this is where all the block items are gonna be. We'll just make a space, and we're gonna make a public static final, and again, it's gonna be a registry object, and it's gonna take in an item, but we're gonna name this Ruby underscore block. So you wanna take this exact same name you have here, right click, copy, you wanna paste it in. So whatever you have there, you wanna take and then add an underscore item. So it's basically the name of your block and then block item. So again, copy and paste this name and then add an underscore item to it. So then we're gonna do equals, and this is gonna equal items dot register because it is technically an item. And we're gonna pass in the name, and this is gonna be the same name we have up here. So you can just copy and paste this name up here. Copy, paste, and add a comma. And we're gonna do another lambda statement here. So to parentheses with an arrow. Oop, messed that up real quick. An arrow, and this is gonna make a new block item base. And this is gonna be, we need to pass something into this, of course. We're gonna pass in our block, so the block we just made, Ruby underscore block. You wanna right click, copy, and you wanna paste that into your block item base. Paste it in, paste, dot get. There we go, and I know this is just barely about to fall off the edge of the screen here, but again, if you don't understand lambdas, that's okay. That's really not the point of this video. Pretty much we're making a new instance of our block item base class, which we're gonna create in a second here, and we're passing in our block that we made. So we're basically assigning our block here we're assigning it to the block item, so the program actually knows. And again, you don't need to use a block item based class if you don't want to. Some people say that's bad practice. I'm sure it is, but just for the sake of not having to reuse so much code, I'm going to use one. So inside of your blocks package here, we want to right click, new, Java class, and again, same name you put here, block item base. And this is going to be for, yes, add that real quick. This is going to be for basic block items. So again, these aren't going to do anything crazy, but if you want a block item that, like, you know, deletes a chunk or something, then that's not going to be this video, not yet at least. So this is going to extend, it's going to extends block item, because again, it is a block item, and it's going to import this class real quick. And we want to hover over this red line and click create constructor matching super. And just like last time, push it down a little bit. And we're actually going to remove this properties here because we're going to make that ourselves. We don't need to pass it in. We're just going to keep block and then block in. And you can just name it block, actually. That's just simpler. So let's get rid of everything in super. We want to pass in our block value here, of course. So we're going to type block and then comma. And then we need to pass in, of course, our properties because that's what block item requests from its super. So we're just going to make a new item dot properties with a capital P, except this one's gonna have a is it a capital P? I think it's a capital P. It's always different, I swear. Item dot properties, yeah, and with two parentheses here, of course. Dot group, and inside of this, just like with our item based class here, we have our tutorial tab. We're gonna add in our custom tab as well. So tutorial dot tab. And this is just going to make sure that our item, our block item, is actually in the creative tab. But again, if you wanted to use a vanilla item tab, you would just do item group dot, and then you would get a vanilla one. But I'm going to use our custom tab that we just made in the last episode. So tutorial dot tab, and we have to import tutorial, import class. And that's pretty much it for this block item base class. Again, you don't need to use this if you don't want to, but I'm just gonna to limit code reuse. So go back to your registry handler class and hover over block item base and make sure you import it. Okay, so now things are gonna start to get a little crazy because we're gonna actually make the JSON files to register the actual texture. So, and there's actually a lot of JSON files involved with blocks, a lot more than items. So just make sure you pay close attention to this part. So inside of your resources folder, and I guess actually first we should close out of some of these tabs here just because we have so many. File, save all, there we go. So inside of our resources folder here, we can go to assets, the name of your mod. And first thing we're gonna wanna do, of course, is make sure that we actually have the name of our object set. So go to your lang folder and en_us.json, double click that. And right below our item group, or I guess we can do above, we're gonna make a new entry here. And this is gonna be block, I guess we have to add some quotation marks, and then inside of that, block dot your mod ID, in my case it's tutorial. Again, your mod ID is what you have right here set in your @mod tag in the main class. So block.modid dot, and then you're gonna go to registry handler and copy this name you set right here, Ruby_block. Just copy it, go back and paste it in. So it's block.yourmodid dot the name of your block, and colon, and this name is gonna be, again, whatever you want it to be. So in my case, I'm gonna name it block of Ruby. And again, this is the in-game name, so whatever you put here will show up in the game. And make sure there's no comma in the last statement. And you can file, save all. All right, so now that that's done, we can close out of en_us.json. Now in our assets.tutorial folder, we're gonna have to right click, create a new directory, and we're gonna name this block states. Block states. Hit enter, and this is gonna hold all of our block state JSONs. So we can actually go ahead and create that right now. We can, well, I guess first we should make the models. Yeah, let's do the models first. So instead of models, we have our item package, and I wanna actually flatten this out so we can see it. So I believe you go up to settings here and go to uncheck compact middle packages, and that should show the items there. So we can open up item and we can see our ruby.json in there. So in the models package, or I guess it's a directory, we want to right click, create a new directory, and name this block. Not block with an S, just block. And enter. So now our models file should have the block file and the item file. And inside of our is it block states? No. Instead of textures, there we go. We want to right click, create a new directory, and we want to name this blocks. And this one actually has an S, so it's blocks with an S. Hit enter, and that's going to hold our textures. And now we're done with directories. So that all the craziness, you can see even I was getting confused. It's a lot. So now we need to make the JSONs. So first JSON, if you go into the description of this video, there will be a bunch of links to some paste bins. So the first paste bin you're going to go to is the model/block one. And you can actually, again, I have all of them laid out for you here just for ease of access because it's kind of annoying to code these by hand. So right click, copy this model/block, go to your IntelliJ, and we're gonna go to models block, and in our block directory in models, we're gonna right click, new file, and we're gonna name this the name that you have set right here for your Ruby block. So Ruby_block. Again, it's this name right here, not the one in all capitals. And you want .json at the end. Hit enter. I'm going to add it to the repository, and you can right click and paste into it the code. And all you have to do now is pretty much change your mod ID and the block name. So mod ID, is going to be tutorial, and and again, mod ID is right here, and the block name is going to be this thing again right here, this name. Copy, paste it in for block name. There we go. So just a quick rundown. This is saying that the block, it's a block and it's a cube. So, and we'll be dealing with these later and making them different shapes, of course. That's what this is going to deal with. But right now it's just a basic cube, and it's saying the textures point to our tutorial mod in the blocks/Ruby block. That's where that's the pathway to the file. So we can file, save all. And now we need to go to item here, and we need to make a JSON for our actual item block. So right click, new file, and this is going to be the exact same name, Ruby_block.json. Hit enter, and we can add it, of course. Now go back to the description of this video and go to the second link, and that's going to take you to the models item, and you can copy this, right click, copy, and paste it back in. And this is just setting the parent. It's saying this block item is, its parent is the block, and it's saying the block is, the parent is the Ruby block. So again, change your mod ID to tutorial or whatever your mod ID is, and change block_name to your block name. Again, I have it right here. Oh, there we go. Right click, copy, and paste it in. Ruby_block, just our name. And we can file, save all. Now there's actually one more JSON we have to make. I know it's crazy. And this is going to be the block states. So go to block states, the new directory you just made, right click, new file. And this file is going to be, again, same exact name. They're all going to be the same name, ruby.json. Oh, not ruby_json. That's our old item, ruby_block.json. Again, same name. We're going to add it and go to the last link in the description, and it should take you to this block states paste bin, and you can copy all of this code. Right click, copy, and you can paste it in. And again, change your mod ID to tutorial or whatever your mod ID is, and block name to, again, what we have here, Ruby_block, the name. Paste it in. There we go. And this block state is just setting the block state to a regular model. And there's no real variance, but this is what we'll be using to create custom blocks in the future that have multiple sides with different textures, like a furnace, things like that. That's what this will deal with. But we're just going to do a basic one for right now. So you can file, save all. And the last thing we have to do is actually get our texture. So if we go to our desktop here, I actually have a texture already set, of course, for ease of access, but you can make one yourself. I'll link another video in the description on how to make a texture with a free program, or you can use Photoshop. And one thing you want to make sure, right click properties. Again, you want to make sure with details that it is 16 by 16 pixels. Otherwise, it most likely will not work. I know there's some other pixel sizes that do work, but make sure for now it's 16 by 16. That's very important. And you want to name it, again, the exact same name you have set in your registry handler, this name. So we're using this name, again, this name right here, this very important name for all of our JSON files and inside of them as well to point to other files. And we're using it for the name of our PNG file here. So ruby_block.png. So go to your Minecraft modding folder, go to tutorial mod, or whatever the name of your mod is, go to source, main, resources, assets, tutorial, textures, blocks. And you want to drag it into blocks, and we can close out of here. And if we go back to IntelliJ, you can see that in our textures blocks package here, we do have our ruby_block.png, so that is working great. And now if we actually run the game, we'll actually see our blocks. So we're pretty much done. And again, to run the game, just go up to the top right here, make sure you select run client and hit this green triangle. So I'm gonna run the game and I'll see you guys inside. All right, so we're inside of the game now, and we can open up our creative menu and go to the next tab and click on our tutorial creative tab that we just made. And there we go, we can see our block is inside of the game, and it does say block of Ruby. And of course, we can place it down and it has a texture. And just listen to the sound real quick. Yeah, so you can see that that is the metal sound that we set. And also if we were to, for example, walk on it real quick, you can hear the walk sound as well, just what we set. Yeah, so it's a little faint, but you can hear it. So also we should just test out real quick. Let's get a shovel and an axe. Let's get like a diamond axe. So if we go to game mode survival, you can see that if we use an axe, it will not work very well as a harvestable tool because we set it to pickaxe. And same with shovel, it will not work very well, which is good. That's just how we want it. But if we were to use, say, a diamond pickaxe, you can see that we can super easily mine it because that is what we set as our tool type. And again, we set the material, the harvest level to iron. So we should be able to harvest it with iron. You can see it's taking a little bit of time because we did set a pretty high hardness level, but a stone pickaxe and below will pretty much not be able to mine it. You can see it's taking a long time. Now, of course, our block is not going to actually drop anything because we'd have to create a loot table, and that's a whole nother video because it's a little complicated, but eventually we will get to that and we will make your block drop. It's either itself or something custom. Alright, so that's going to do it for this episode of our modding series. Thanks guys so much for watching. I hope you learned a lot, and I will see you guys in the next episode.